What's up, Tanner J-Man Show Nation? This is Tanner Lee, one half of the Tanner J-Man Show, and on behalf of myself and my co-host Josh the J-Man Munt, we appreciate you listening to our podcast. If you're a new listener to our podcast, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts at. If that happens to be on Apple Podcasts, please give us a rating and review, as that helps us out a bunch. Watch our podcast live every Monday night from 6:30 to 7:30 Eastern Standard Time on the ISC Sports Network, and make sure to give us a like on Facebook and a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Tan and J-Man Show. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy some hot takes, topics, picks, and more on a brand new episode of the Tan and J-Man Show.
We are back with another episode of the Tan and J-Man Show here. Last episode before the Super Bowl. First episode after the Pro Bowl.
Didn't watch a second of it.
I haven't watched a second of it in years, but from the sounds of it, it was an absolute joke. It looked like a two-hand touch.
I saw some highlights. It pretty much was two-hand touch. I don't know. I think it's time to scrap the game. Just have the skills competition.
I guess they can still name like a team just for the accolade sort of thing.
Right.
But the whole playing a game is.
I get it. I get not wanting to try or hit each other from an injury risk, but then why even have a game? I don't know what you do. I mean, the MLB one's meaningful for World Series home field advantage. The NBA one's turned into just a dunk contest after the dunk contest, and the NHL one's pretty cool. The NHL one's fun to watch. But.
Yeah, it's tough to fake baseball and hockey, it seems like, where you can absolutely fake your way through a football game or even a basketball game.
Well, and the hockey one, I feel bad for the goalies because they stand no chance. They're going against the best goal scorers in the world. Yeah. So they give up like 8 to 9 goals.
I wonder if what would be interesting is if they start doing like a 7-on-7 like flag football sort of thing.
Be cool.
Of course, that'd not be overly helpful for the linemen or even linebackers for that matter. Maybe. I don't know. I never played 7-on-7, but
let them catch passes once in a while.
Yeah. Change. Like I saw NFL players debating or getting mad at each other, I should say, because somebody said that switching from wide receiver or switching from cornerback to wide receiver is so much more difficult than wide receiver to cornerback. Cornerbacks were mad. You know what? Switch it up. Let the corners run some routes while the receivers are trying to stop them. I think that'd make it at least semi-interesting. But,
I don't know. It's time to do something. I don't know what the right answer is. I don't get paid to make that decision. Probably a good thing. But before we get into the show, I have a congratulations in store for you, the J-Man, for the Tan and J-Man Show Nation that doesn't know. They might not follow you on Instagram, which they should, or be a friend on Facebook, which they should. But you and your now fiance, Megan Steelman, got engaged over the weekend. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Popped the question now for the stressful part of wedding planning. So we took a few days off. I think we're probably going to get into it this weekend, maybe start some stuff, but pretty exciting time.
Be honest. Were you more nervous for the proposal or the Indiana-Illinois basketball game?
I was more stressed about the proposal because Megan drove, and of course she doesn't know what's going on. I'm getting stressed because I wanted to be there at a certain time. Our families are waiting, and she kept driving around Naperville, Illinois, trying to find a parking spot. I'm just like, find a spot, please.
For the love of God.
Yeah, seriously. And I was far more nervous for the Illinois-Indiana basketball game. But luckily, both things went pretty well for me.
Yes, they did. You had a day to remember, that's for sure. Would have anyways, regardless of the outcome of the Illinois game, but them winning just put the cherry on the top.
Cherry on top. You got some birdie bogey for me?
Yes, I do. NFL related this week.
The category means nothing to me anymore.
Let me find it here. Okay, so Aaron Rodgers He's presumed to be the NFL MVP. We'll find out soon. So if he does, he'll be back-to-back MVP. He'll be the 5th guy in NFL history to win back-to-back MVPs. Can you name the other 4?
5th guy. So 4 other players have won back-to-back MVPs.
Yep. 3 for a par, 4 for a birdie.
3 for a par, 4 for birdie. I'm going to end up with like 2 or 1 or 0 for that matter. But,
we are tied at 2 over par.
Yeah.
So.
You have the upper hand because you had a par.
You're right.
So Birdie Bogey brought to you by Noble Gnome LLC for fresh, locally grown, nutrient-dense produce from Bryce and Katie Romine of Mentone, Indiana. Like them on Facebook, follow them on Instagram, and check out their website, noblegnomellc.com. Get ready!
Did you see the sweet-looking sock cap or beanie? Do you call it sock cap or beanie?
I call it sock cap.
Sock cap. I'm kind of back and forth. I used to be totally a sock cap. Now I'm kind of starting to call it a beanie.
I get made fun of by my now fiance for calling it a sock cap because she thinks it's called a beanie, and that is the root of all of our arguments, is whether it's a sock cap or beanie.
Well, now you have to call it a sock cap for forever.
Yes.
So you got to stand your ground.
Yep.
But they have a really cool USA colored Noble Gnome one,
nice.
And because the Olympics are going on, so. There's multiple ways. They're doing contests right now. You share their certain posts, you get entered to win. But they got a really great looking store on their website. So make sure to go grab some Noble Gnome merch.
As someone who's as follically impaired as I am, I tend to wear sock caps about every time I leave the house in the winter. If I don't, I feel like I'm missing an item of clothing. So I'm gonna have to go enter that.
Yeah, they're really cool. I really like the USA design, the color design. It's a cool one. I have not watched any of the Winter Olympics yet. I
have not watched a single second. Kind of forgot they were on. I mean, neither of us are big Winter Olympic guys anyway. Not that I really watched the Summer Olympics this past summer, but
it was hard without a crowd.
Yeah.
Here's something, and I know why they don't do it because they don't want to pause the NBA. But I've always thought that basketball and swimming should be in the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, those are winter sports.
Because they're played, at least in the U.S., during the winter time.
Do they pause the NHL?
Yeah, normally for a couple weeks. Mm-hmm.
They pause the NHL, but they won't pause the NBA. I guess they don't really want the NBA going into August like it did the COVID year. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a winter sport, and I completely understand why they wouldn't want to have it and stop for 12 guys, essentially 15 guys, 15 players that are on the USA roster. Don't want to stop an entire season for that. And of course, you don't want to hurt their teams by making them continue to play.
Right. And I hope anybody listening to the audio, I know people watching might have just seen kind of what happened, but that was a Tan and J-Man show first. My dog tripped over my cords to everything and just about unhooked everything. So
nice.
Hopefully there wasn't a ton of bad audio feedback out there. So apologize if there was.
Didn't hear a single thing on my end. So hopefully that's a good sign.
I definitely did in my headphones. So, but he scared himself. So he ran away. Imagine that. So we got a lot to talk about here tonight, J-Man. I think we should start with some college hoops.
Let's do it. Fun week of college hoops, especially for our teams. Our teams are rolling, man. They are absolutely rolling.
Tomorrow night.
Heading into this top 15 matchup. Clearly, we've been saying it for a few weeks. Clearly the two best teams in the Big Ten. Illinois, I think, won 4 in a row, and all 4 have been quad 1 wins. Purdue's just blowing teams out. I mean, they didn't really blow Michigan out, but or Ohio State, I guess. But they're still finding a way to win.
Yeah, they're finding ways to win. They get up big on almost every opponent, and then they kind of, I don't know, they let opponents get right back in the game. But credit to Michigan, they shot the ball really well. Hunter Dickinson played really, really well the other day.
It's interesting. Hunter Dickinson, with him on the court, they might be like a top 15 team in the country. Without him, they're one of the worst in the Big Ten. They've got lost to Nebraska.
He has no help. I mean, he had 28 the other day. Yeah.
Their guard play is so bad. It's just so bad. They're missing. Of course, they're missing Franz Wagner, who's tearing up the NBA right now. he'd help. But a couple other guys too. I mean, they had Mike Smith last year running the point. He was pretty good. A couple other guys that they're just missing. And they've tried to rely on these freshmen. Caleb Houston, 5-star guy. He's just been okay. Musa Diabate's been just okay for them. I think that's probably the reason why they came into the year ranked number 4 is because they thought, okay, Dickinson's going to go make this sophomore leap where he's going to be a superstar. They have these 5-star freshmen coming in, and it just hasn't panned out that way.
Yeah, it's like you said, I think they were definitely overhyped coming into the season, but at times, I mean, when they're shooting well, it's like, okay, you can see why they were at least ranked coming into the year, but I think they got to get red hot to make the tournament at this point.
Yeah, their net ranking is right around like 55-ish, 52, 55, and that's cutting it real close for an at-large bid. I don't think Lenardi has them in at all right now.
No, he doesn't.
Nor in his like next 4 out either. So they have to get hot. I mean, they had an opportunity to. I mean, it was a really close game. Mm-hmm. Was it a 3-point game there at one point and with like 5-ish minutes?
4-point
game. I mean, they just couldn't get it in. Purdue missed the front end of a 1-and-1, I believe, and they got an offensive rebound. I mean, that could have completely changed the game.
Mason Gillis, he seems to get the big key rebound when they need it every game.
Glue guy, man. Him and DeMonte Williams are like the same.
Yeah, they are.
Such glue guys. Yeah. So, yeah, Michigan has to get hot, though.
And they got a chance. I mean, they play Penn State at Penn State tomorrow. Then they host Purdue Thursday. Play them twice within a week. But these are big weeks for Purdue and Illinois, and I'll go on record. Mm-hmm. I think the winner of tomorrow night's game at least ties for a share of the Big Ten title.
Absolutely. Illinois was hurt by not beating Purdue back on January 18th or whatever that was. So this is a game they really need, in my opinion, to win the Big Ten. Lot of season left, of course. Purdue's schedule is a little bit easier. I saw strength of schedule ranking today for the top 5 teams. I think Michigan State had the hardest. Illinois had the second hardest. Then it was Purdue. A team to look out for is Ohio State, though. They have the easiest schedule among the top 5. And, I mean, they have a ton of talent, too.
And Michigan State's frauds. They're not going to do it.
No, I think Illinois kind of proved them frauds, beating them without Kofi Coburn, who is obviously he's one of the most dominant players in the country and should be, in my opinion, Big Ten Player of the Year. Tops right now after this past week he had, after Johnny Davis did not play very well against Illinois nor Penn State. And, I mean, Michigan State loses them, then they go to Rutgers and just get absolutely blown out.
2 years in a row.
Yeah, it really wasn't even a game. Like, I was watching a little bit of the first half and second half, and Rutgers kept like a 7 to 10 point lead the entire time. That's a tough place to play. That's such a just crappy place to go play right now because their net ranking is so bad where it'll be close to a quad 3 loss.
Right.
And it's an incredibly tough place to play regardless. So that's kind of a lose-lose. If you go in there and win, who cares? But if you lose, it's the end of the world, it feels like.
They're a team that's bona fide, great at home, awful on the road.
Yeah. I mean, it was evident by losing which I think Northwestern's actually legitimately okay. But they had a chance to win there. They were down 17 at one point, came back and tied it on Tuesday or Wednesday. I can't remember when it was. And then they found a way to lose. They've lost I think they lost at Penn State this year too. They lost, they got killed at Illinois. They got, they can win at home, but definitely not on the road.
Yeah, it was an interesting week around the landscape of college basketball. I mean, UCLA loses twice outside the top 10. A real bad loss in double overtime to Arizona State.
Terrible loss. I watched that game. Arizona State's like 6-16.
Yeah, not good at all.
Real bad.
What else happened? Who else got upset this week?
Baylor got whooped on Saturday at Kansas, which they were without one of their better guards. But
Kansas isn't going to lose 2 home games in a row. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, and that too. Yeah.
Kentucky whooped Alabama. Alabama's been a disappointment this year.
They've kind of fallen by the wayside. So has LSU. LSU's lost 6 of their last 7.
Yep. Arkansas's got hot. They've won 8 in a row.
Yeah, they came in
Auburn this week,
right? 12 or 13. Auburn coming off an absolute scare against a bad Georgia team. Yep. Worst power team, high major team in the net ranking right now, and they took it to the wire.
Yep. Villanova beat UConn, but in the process, one of their guards goes down with injury.
Yeah, which, I mean, they were missing Gillespie last year, too, with a torn ACL. So kind of, and I haven't seen if the x-rays came back negative or whatever. But I mean, he's their best player, so that could be a huge loss for the Big East. Because you look at the Big East, Providence is rolling right now. They're 20-2.
I don't feel so bad that they beat Purdue in overtime in the secret scrimmage.
No, you shouldn't. Which really who cares?
Who cares,
anyway?
Right? But still.
Matter. But yeah, they're rolling. Xavier lost at home to DePaul.
Oh, that's a bad loss.
They were ranked. That was a real bad loss. Marquette looks like maybe the second best team. They beat Villanova earlier in the week.
ACC Duke just manhandled UNC. Just killed them.
North Carolina is not an NCAA tournament team. They might get in on their name alone.
I don't know how they could.
They shouldn't. They shouldn't. They have 0 quad 1 wins. They have 0 good wins essentially. They're not good.
Florida State lost home to Wake Forest. Wake Forest making a case to be one of the top ACC teams.
Yeah.
Really one team that nobody's talking about, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame's
up there in the ACC.
Yeah, they're playing really well so far. They had an opportunity against Duke, and they ended up getting whooped earlier in the week. And that could have been maybe their last opportunity to get a really good quality win because the ACC is so down this year.
Awful.
It's really bad. But yeah, Notre Dame's making their case. Which not many people thought coming into the year that they'd be okay, but they've turned out to be pretty solid.
One of my bold predictions, one of my 2022 bold predictions for 2022 was Purdue was going to be the only team from Indiana that makes NCAA tournament. I don't think that's true now.
You think Notre Dame's going to make the tournament?
I think Indiana will make the tournament. And,
I forgot.
And I think Notre Dame's got a pretty good shot. I mean, they got. But like you said, they don't have a ton of opportunities left for quality wins, but I don't know if they get up to 22, 23 wins. I don't know.
Yeah, and of course they're going to have the ACC tournament as well to kind of get those quality wins and maybe get another shot at Duke. Because I don't know if they play Duke the rest of the year, but they're not winning in Cameron Indoor.
Right.
But the ACC is significantly down, and it was kind of down last year too. I mean, Duke didn't even make the tournament last year.
Yep, that's true. And then Gonzaga, I don't know if you saw this, they beat BYU by 33. Yeah,
that Chet Holmgren was unbelievable on Saturday night. He put on a show. Because he plays for Gonzaga, you just don't get to watch him play that much because they're always seems like tipping off at 11 o'clock Eastern time.
True.
But he was the number 1 recruit in the nation coming out of high school last year and looking like a potential top 5 pick, which is so weird for the way he looks. He's super tall and super skinny, but he does stuff that guards can't do.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
and he's blocking shots. So
it'll be interesting to see how that transpires at the next level. He'll probably take a couple of years to develop in the pros, but he's going to be pretty good. But in BYU earlier last week lost to San Francisco, which San Francisco is a solid team. They're probably going to make the tournament, but BYU all of a sudden is not what BYU's accustomed to.
And they play in the conference they play in, where Gonzaga hasn't exactly played murderer's row here since mid-December, and they still vault up to number 1, which I mean, that's proven to be not that big of a deal because they still went to the national championship last year, all that. And they still have pretty deep runs in the NCAA tournament, but it's tough to evaluate a really great Gonzaga team just with who they're playing right now.
Yeah, it is. That's why they play some tough opponents in non-con.
Which they have to. They really have to.
Which, if you remember, Alabama took them to the woodshed.
Yeah, they did. They did.
It's crazy. But a lot of good Big Ten games on slate this week. Why don't we go through and predict some?
Tomorrow night, we have Wisconsin at Michigan State.
Yeah, this is a top 20 battle. So, I mean, all eyes are going to be in the Big Ten tomorrow night.
Somehow, Michigan State is still 17th.
It's Tom Izzo.
Somehow, Wisconsin's still 14th.
I don't know. Where's this game at?
At Michigan State. Michigan State blew out Wisconsin and Wisconsin.
I was going to say, yeah. Ago. And I know Michigan State looked bad at Rutgers the other day, but I'll take Sparty at home in this one.
Yes, I agree. Johnny Davis scores a ton of points. He's a guy that also shoots the ball a bunch, so it kind of he's not very efficient. They need Brad Davison to play better. Trent Frazier shut him down. Trent Frazier shut down. I've talked about this a bunch, but Trent Frazier shuts down about every guard he faces. Brad Davison's one of them. Davison's like the past 3 games he's played against Illinois, he's like 1 for 19 shooting the 3 ball. They need somebody else to step up in Wisconsin. I don't think it's going to happen, though, at Michigan State. Give me Michigan State. Michigan at Penn State.
Interesting one here. I think Penn State will be pretty physical with them, but I think Michigan wins a close one.
This is a tough one. Penn State coming off a win against, they lost to Wisconsin by 2, but they did beat Iowa earlier in the week in Penn State.
Double overtime.
And it was a miracle to get to double overtime because Keegan Murray had an insane tip in the buzzer to tie it. Give me Michigan as well. For some reason, I just think Penn State's going to lose that one. Interesting one here. Big one for Indiana. They travel to Evanston to face Northwestern.
Yeah, they got an interesting stretch of games coming up here.
This is one they desperately need.
Yeah. Indiana's an interesting team. Trace Jackson Davis, like he did against Purdue, gets in foul trouble early against Illinois, sits the pretty much whole first half, then didn't do a whole lot in the second half. And at times you look at him, you're like, Indiana's playing better without him. This is weird.
They played better without him.
But I think IU gets it done, but I think it's close.
Northwestern, all they do is play close games until they go to Nebraska and beat them by 30, which we can talk about Nebraska later if we want to. But yes, Indiana, Kofi Coburn has dominated Trace Jackson Davis every single time they played him. Illinois is 4-0 against them. And like last year, Trace Jackson Davis had a game where he shot 3 of 18 against Kofi Coburn. And Kofi didn't do a whole lot in the first half, and then he turned it on in the second half. Illinois was the significantly tougher team than Indiana was. I think Northwestern's a fairly tough team. That's going to be a tough one for Indiana to get, and I think Northwestern pulls it out.
I could see that.
Illinois at Purdue, game of the year, ESPN. Jason Benetti, Robbie Hummel.
Is there a line on this game yet?
There is no line on any game for tomorrow that I can see.
I bet Purdue's 3-point favorite, 2 to 3 point.
The power of Mackey Arena.
Yeah, I know, but it took Purdue
Illinois was
against these guys the first time, and
Illinois was an underdog at Indiana last.
That was an easy $37 for me. Thank you, bettors.
Only the second time Illinois had been underdogs all year. And this will be the third, of course, but
this is going to be a battle. I think it's just going to be. It's supposed to be a blackout at Mackey tomorrow, 9:00, which was at 7. Which was at 7, but it's 9:00 Eastern time. This is when I'm really jealous of you on Central time.
I was going to say Central time is the best time for sports by far.
Yeah. Gosh, these teams are built really similar too. Good centers, got a few good shooters. Last time I picked Illinois to beat Purdue, and I'm going to go with my heart on this one and pick Purdue in a close one.
Everything I can read or read today about Illinois, they said they've never been more locked in.
Sure.
It's one of those things where I feel so unbelievably good at every single game they're playing that I don't think they can lose. However, I don't think they can win in Mackey Arena. But Illinois has won 24 of their last 27 games against Big Ten opponents. They've won 29 of their last 35. They've won 8 of their last 9 Big Ten road games, 13 of their last 15 Big Ten road games, which is just insane. This is arguably the greatest 3-year stretch of Illinois basketball ever.
Yeah.
Regular season wise anyway. And in their last 16 games against Michigan, Indiana, Iowa, and Wisconsin, they're 16-0. It's just crazy. I've never seen anything like this because they used not be able to beat those teams. I think Purdue wins at home. Mackey's going to be rocking. They don't have anyone that can guard Jaden Ivey. His athleticism was ridiculous.
He's getting Saturday. Better every game. He didn't have a good shooting game, but he's all of a sudden he's learning to when to kick it into gear, when not to.
Right.
That's why Chad Ford has him number 2 overall now.
He does athletically looks like Ja Morant. And
Yeah, he does.
That's what Brad Underwood said today. He's as close to Ja Morant in college basketball as we have.
And he loves Ja. They work out together. I mean, his mom was assistant coach of the Grizzlies for a year, a couple years ago, so he got to know Ja pretty well. That's who he bases his game off of. But it's going to be a battle. It's going to be. It'll be interesting to see how the refs ref this one. If they call everything or call nothing.
Yeah, which they didn't call a whole lot. It felt like the first time around. Both big guys are just beating the absolute tar out of each other. They will finally have a healthy Kofi Coburn because he played that game with a concussion. Yeah. So that will help. However, and I said this last time, Kofi gets in any sort of foul trouble, they're absolutely toast.
But they weren't toast last time.
They weren't toast, which is crazy. And I don't think Boss Mans has played since.
and like I said, Indiana and Illinois, the game plan going into was get Trace and Kofi in foul trouble. Mm-hmm. They did that. They lose at Indiana and almost lose at Illinois.
Yeah.
It opens it up for the guards. So,
yeah, because, I mean, neither of those guys can shoot outside of 10 feet. So I think it'll be a knockdown, drag-out sort of fight, but
should be a good one.
The power of Mackey. It's hard for me to ever pick against Purdue in Mackey Arena, especially after witnessing many games there and how loud it can get, and teams just don't play well there. But yeah, give me Purdue, and really, whatever. I'd rather win the Big Ten tournament, anyways.
So. No, if I had to pick one, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, it's one of those things. But here's an interesting stat about Illinois. Trent Frazier, Alfonso Plummer, DeMonte Williams, Jacob Grandison, Kofi Coburn lineup has played 176 minutes together this season and are outscoring opponents by 44 points per 100 possessions, which is crazy. That same lineup with Coleman Hawkins in for Grandison has played 53 minutes, and opponents are outscoring Illinois by 18 points per 100. So Jacob Grandison might be the MVP of the
no kidding. At
MVP
least the team
of the season there. At least team, yeah.
Wow.
Should be pretty good. So moving on to Wednesday night, we have Ohio State at Rutgers. It'll be a tough one.
Give me Rutgers.
You're taking Rutgers?
Yeah.
Ohio State needs it if they want any shot to win the Big Ten. Give me Ohio State.
There's just something weird about that building. I mean, if you look at Rutgers' resume and hide the bad loss to Lafayette, you see they beat Purdue and Michigan State at home. You're thinking this team's pretty good.
Yeah. But they also have a home loss to like Lafayette or something like that, which is just so strange.
Right.
I've personally never eaten Jersey Mike's.
Me neither.
Eaten at Jersey Mike's?
No.
But maybe there's something about it.
I might have to give it a try.
Give me Ohio State. This is an interesting one as far as two teams that are going the exact same direction, and that's Minnesota at Nebraska.
Minnesota.
Give me Nebraska. I think Minnesota's garbage.
Nebraska's garbage. Nebraska's worse than garbage.
They
lose 30 at home to Northwestern.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't even know.
I'm just, for some reason, I think they're going to get a win here. Minnesota started out, I think they were 11-0, weren't they? Or close to it, 10-0.
Since we've been watching Big Ten basketball, have you ever, or can you ever remember a team going 0 in the conference? I can't.
Did Indiana do it in that really bad year in 2008, 2009?
I thought they beat somebody.
Seems like they beat somebody.
And I know the following year they beat Illinois. Thanks.
Yeah, rush the court.
Yeah.
That was fun, especially living in Indiana at the time.
I guess I can Google it, or do you got it?
I got it. Seems like Northwestern's had some years where they've gone over.
Well, I remember Purdue won 7 games, GK's last year, 9 games Matt Painter's first year, but they won a couple.
08-09, Indiana went 1-17 in Big Ten play.
They didn't get a win.
Northwestern's the only team I could think of that could possibly do it.
I mean, since I remember watching, which goes back to about 2000, I don't remember a team doing that.
I don't either, but this Nebraska team is very 07, 08, 99 and 2000. Northwestern went 0-16 in Big Ten play.
That would have been the year I started watching, but I don't remember.
07, 08, they went 1-17. 19 and 20, they went 3-17. How does Colin still have a job? Did you know? Did you know that Northwestern was ranked at one point last season? They got up to 19th, and then they finished 9-15. So,
wow.
But this Nebraska team is very primed for an offer, and the Hoiberg experiment's not working.
Nope.
It's not, and I mean he tried to do exactly what he did at Iowa State. 'Cause remember, he took over Iowa State, and they were terrible.
Right.
I mean, he turned them into transfer U, and that's exactly what Nebraska's, or he tried to do it in Nebraska, but that style just doesn't work anymore because guys are transferring every single year. So.
I was gonna say now everybody's getting transferred.
Everybody's
so it's not like it used to be. So
yeah, and they're awful. You can get into that game for as low as $2.
Hey, that's better than 99-cent Darrell Hazel games.
99 cents.
I don't know if it was that low. It was bad, though.
I remember one time I went with you to a Purdue game during the Hazel era. You made me walk down and pay $25 for a ticket I could have got for $1 on StubHub.
Was that Virginia Tech?
I think it was either Virginia Tech or it was Illinois. Because both teams were bad. Illinois was anyway.
Yeah.
I could have bought a ticket for 99 cents on StubHub. You made me walk down to Will Call or wherever.
I want you to give my school more money.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thursday night, Iowa at Maryland.
This is a coin flip, but give me Maryland.
Give me Maryland as well. Iowa looked pretty good yesterday against who did they play? Minnesota.
Yeah.
Fran McCaffrey has COVID. I don't know if they'll be back for this one. Give me Iowa on the road. I think Maryland kind of folds it in now, phones it in.
Yeah, they might.
Purdue at Michigan. That's a rough week, as you said.
I would be happy with 2 of 3 this week, to be honest. It'd be really shocked me if Purdue wins all 3. With that said, give me Michigan in this one. I just don't have I don't know why. Don't have a good feeling about it. I don't have a good feeling about tomorrow night either, but.
Purdue has had some success in Michigan, haven't they?
Yeah, a little bit.
I remember Travion Williams had a great game there, and they ended up losing
lost that
a couple years ago.
The other Saturday's win against Michigan was this senior class's first win against Michigan, but they'd only played them 4 times.
Yeah,
they only played them once last year.
Purdue's too good. Give me the Boilers.
I hope you're right.
Rutgers at Wisconsin on Saturday.
I'll go with Wisconsin this
one. Give me Wisconsin at home. Indiana at Michigan State.
Michigan State.
Give me Michigan State. I think it'll be pretty close, though. I'm not a believer in this Michigan State team. Ohio State at Michigan.
I think Michigan beats Penn State, beats Purdue. They're riding a high. Ohio State knocks them down. Ohio State.
I think Michigan wins this one for some reason.
These are hard to predict this week.
This is a tough week, which it's February in the Big Ten. It's going to be brutal for everyone.
Sure.
Penn State at Minnesota.
I'll take Penn State in this one.
At Minnesota. Give me Minnesota.
You call them garbage. You call them garbage and losing to Nebraska, and they're going to be Penn State.
It is home
game.
Though. Yeah. Sunday afternoon, we have Northwestern. There's no way Purdue loses a game this week, in my opinion. I think their best chance would be at Michigan.
Yeah. No, their best players. Well, that or tomorrow night. Tomorrow night's going to be. No.
It's going to be tough.
Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
Northwestern at Illinois. Nothing screams Illinois Northwestern more like a 1:00 Central Big Ten Network game before the Super Bowl.
Illinois had their scare already against Northwestern. They blow them out this time.
Yeah, I think Illinois handles them. Now, if they win on Tuesday, I think we could see a little bit of a hangover effect. But give me Illinois in that one. Maryland at Purdue.
This is a 1:00 CBS game. It's weird that this is a national game, but it was scheduled well in advance. Give me Purdue in this one. Only time they play
Purdue,
each other.
Large. Nebraska at Iowa.
Iowa.
Yeah, give me Iowa. Big. You want to do any top 25?
Yeah, we can go through a few real quick.
I'll just pick and choose. Tonight, do we have any? Kansas at Texas.
Ooh. Hard to pick against the Jayhawks the way they played over the weekend. Give me Kansas.
I don't think Texas can score enough. Give me Kansas.
Yeah.
Tuesday night, we have Marquette at UConn. UConn's still ranked.
Yeah, give me UConn in this one. I'll take the home team.
Yeah, give me UConn as well. Wednesday night. See any good ones Wednesday night? Not really. Moving on to Thursday. Murray State's ranked. Did not know that. Not a good week for top 25 matchups. Friday night we have UConn at Xavier.
I'll take Xavier at home.
Yeah, Xavier needs a win after losing to
Doesn't
Paul.
Arkansas host Auburn this week?
So
Arkansas's won 8 straight.
Auburn.
Or maybe I'm making that up.
Texas A&M hosts Auburn. Or no, Auburn hosts Texas A&M on Saturday. I didn't see Auburn on. I might have skipped over it.
Yeah, maybe I read the schedule wrong this week.
Texas at Baylor Saturday afternoon.
Bad week for Texas. Give me Baylor.
Give me Baylor as well. Baylor needs a win. They've lost a few here this week. Number 22, St. Mary's travels to number 2, Gonzaga.
Give me Zags at home.
Yeah, give me Gonzaga. Number 12, UCLA travels to number 21, USC.
Give me USC. I think UCLA keeps falling seed lines.
Yeah, Mick Cronin was not too happy with his team.
He was screaming at him.
Losing at a terrible Arizona State team.
And he was screaming at him in overtime when they had 1.4 seconds left and the inbounder threw it over the guy's head out of bounds. That just kills you.
Yep. So, any other college basketball?
Not that I could think of.
My word association is college basketball
related.
So, this is Big Ten Freshman of the Year from the past 15 or so years.
That's a good one.
Some of these guys haven't heard of in a while. But starting with last year, Hunter Dickinson.
Cocky.
Yeah.
I saw that firsthand on Saturday. Yeah. He and Brad Davidson are on the same level of guys you just want to punch.
And Brad Davidson's not really cocky. He's just dirty.
He's dirty, but Hunter's very cocky. Great player, but
super cocky.
Wow.
Doesn't shut up. I mean, he's talked so much trash about Illinois the past 2 years, and they haven't beat him in over 1,000 days.
Well, I watched him. Usually you watch The Journey on the Big Ten Network, and you come away liking guys. I watched a feature on him. I'm like, he's very unlikable.
Yeah, I can't stand him. 2020, Kofi Coburn.
Beast. I mean, look at the guy. I mean, there's taller guys in NCAA like Zach Edey 7'4", but Kofi's a large human being and very talented. I don't know if he'll ever be a great pro, but very talented college basketball player.
I would be interested to see how much money he's making with the NIL this year because there's I think a legitimate shot he can come back next year if he thinks he's going to make more money, which would be awesome. He's dominant. Iggy Brasdakis.
Oh my gosh! Completely forgot about him. Forgot he won and done. Is he even in the league anymore?
I don't know. He's been a bust.
Michigan's just for over years has been an NBA producing factory. He was a lefty, wasn't he?
Iggy?
Yeah. Just t-shirt wearing lefty.
6'7". He was good, but
I hadn't thought about him since he left Michigan.
Yeah, I couldn't believe he won Freshman of the Year. It should have been Io, in my opinion, but it was Brasdakis. Jaren Jackson,
good player, but I thought he was a little overrated.
Yeah, his numbers weren't great. I will say the team he's on now might be the most exciting team in the NBA with Ja Morant and Desmond Bane there in Memphis.
Desmond Bane, man. Purdue let him get away.
They got Carson instead, though, didn't they?
No.
Oh.
I don't think that was the same year. I don't know. They didn't offer him a scholarship for some reason. There was something, he tore it up at TCU, and now he's good for the Grizzlies.
Miles Bridges.
A guy that's coming on in the pros.
Yeah.
I'll never forget him hitting a buzzer beater against Purdue up in East Lansing to win the game.
Great athlete.
Freak athlete, yeah.
Ethan Happ.
Felt like he was at Wisconsin for a decade.
Then you kind of forget about him when he leaves.
Yeah, he was such a fundamental, awful free throw shooter, though.
Yeah.
But, he was a solid player and got better every single year he was at Wisconsin.
Yep. D'Angelo Russell.
I thought about him the other day for the first time in a while because I forgot he was a top 5 pick.
I always forget he went to Ohio State because the Big Ten just doesn't have one-and-done guys like that.
He was a top 5 pick. He was a pain in the butt on an Ohio State team that wasn't that good.
Yeah. I think they got, like a 10 seed maybe?
They might have won a game.
Yeah, I can't remember. Noah Vonleh.
Another one I would done that didn't do much in the pros, but he was still hanging around the pros last time I knew.
Still making money.
But pretty good player for a Indiana team that wasn't very good.
Gary Harris.
Solid college player and was making a solid NBA career for himself till he got traded from Denver to the Magic, I believe. Yeah. I don't know what he's doing now.
Pretty good. He starts for him.
Okay. Well, he was starting in Denver too. Yeah. Just a solid college player.
Cody Zeller.
Another solid college player that I never thought he would last in the pros like he has. He was a top 5 pick to the Hornets and the big fundamental.
The NBA kind of evolved right when he was getting into it to the point where he's just not a match very well in the NBA.
I mean, he's made a longer career than Victor Oladipo.
Vic's playing.
Is he? Where's he at?
He's with Miami. He's been hurt this year, though.
Okay, well, maybe that's why, because he gets hurt so often.
He gets hurt a bunch. Jared Sullinger.
Oh, guy wanted to jump after 1 year, but he came back to Ohio State.
He put together one of the best freshman years I can remember in Big Ten play.
Wore 2 elbow pads, if I remember correctly. Yeah. I hated those Ohio State teams with a passion, and the ones before him.
And they were good.
Sully was really, really good, and hadn't been the greatest of pros, but, man, he was just one of those Ohio State thorns in your side.
He was, I'm pretty sure, the head coach for the Ohio State team in that TBT.
He was.
So, DJ Richardson.
I couldn't have told you he won freshman of the year.
Over Watford.
Wow. I couldn't have told you he was up for
actually, Drew Crawford was freshman of the year.
He was a good college player at Northwestern.
He was good with Northwestern.
I don't know much to say about DJ besides surprising freshman of the year.
I mean, he's like he averaged, I think, 10 points a game every single year he was at Illinois.
Consistent.
Super consistent, good defensively, could hit a 3. They don't win that buzzer beater game against Indiana without him. I think he scored 8 straight points to tie it.
I think you just said that a week or two ago.
I did. It feels like I just said that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a solid player. I do not look back on those teams very fondly, though.
Johnny Gross.
Yeah. William Buford.
I think he's still hitting threes. Him and Diebler in the game I went my freshman year at Purdue. Purdue was ranked 10. Ohio State was ranked number 1. It was over a half. Man, those guys. I hated those Ohio State teams. He was a stud and he's made a good career for himself over in Europe.
Mm-hmm. Eric Gordon.
Good college player, but overhyped. But he's made a good NBA career for himself.
There's a lot of similarities with him and Romeo Langford their first year.
Yes.
That Indiana team was better, but they had the Kelvin Sampson thing where Dan Dockich had to take over final 6 games or something like that.
Got beat by Blake Hoffarber and then got killed by an Arkansas in the 8-9 game. But I can't think Eric Gordon without thinking Sean Pruitt.
Yeah, I was just looking at that box score the other day. Pruitt went 1 for 7.
All you had to do was make 1.
Just hit 1 and they win. It was funny though. Chester Frazier coming back to Indiana. Of course, he's an assistant at Illinois, and of course, you remember the push.
Oh yeah,
he gave Gordon. It's just funny to see him on the sidelines now at Illinois, as there's a Eric Gordon Greek's Pizzeria banner around the stadium. And,
that's funny. I didn't know that.
Greg Oden.
What could have been? I mean, he's just a big guy who couldn't stay healthy, and the Blazers are kicking themselves to this day, taking him over Durant. But I would have done the same thing.
Absolutely.
If I were them then. I mean, man, he was good. I mean, he looked like he was 40 when he was 19 years old, when he's 18 years old, and now he's still a assistant at Ohio State. So seems like one of the nicest guys out there.
He does. I'll never forget reading Sports Illustrated and reading a story about the funniest thing a guy ever heckled him about when he was walking off the court at Ohio State and somebody yelled to him, "How was World War II?"
I thought it was a Civil War, or was it World War II?
It might have been Civil War.
Yeah. But either way, it's a good one.
Yeah, he's he looked a lot older than he was.
That's when Ohio State finally in our lifetime became
of course,
serious contenders.
They were put on sanctions because of Jim O'Brien. Was that his name?
Yeah. Yep. So what an awful Pacer coach he was.
Yeah, they were pretty good. I mean, their Super Bowl in 04-05 was that game against Illinois. That team probably would
Matt
have been,
Sylvester.
yeah, that Ohio State team would have probably been an NCAA tournament team,
Yeah.
but they couldn't make it, which,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can talk about the NCAA's ruling on some of that stuff at a later date. But, yeah, that was kind of – Mata took over, and then he started recruiting, and they got Conley, Greg Oden, Daquan Cook was a 5-star, and he played in the NBA for a little while. That was when their reign of terror for, like, I would say a good 6 or 7 year stretch where you just hated playing them.
Absolutely.
So that's going to do it.
That's a good list, like always, J-Man. And the word association segment is brought to you by Rhett Lee, attorney at law. Rhett Lee and the law office of Andrew Key LLC are located at 206 4th Street in Logansport, Indiana. Rhett provides legal services to the people of North Central Indiana in practice criminal defense, family law, and personal injury. If you need a lawyer who cares about your results and will fight for you, give Rhett a call today to schedule your free consultation at 574-722-2221.
Yes, sir. Super Bowl week. But before we start talk about the Super Bowl, we've had a few other head coaching positions be filled. Well, first of all, Brian Flores is suing the NFL for discrimination and something else, which the allegations he has against Dolphins owner Stephen Ross are enough for them to force Stephen Ross to sell the team, fingers crossed, that he offered him $100,000 for each loss in 2019. The same year, Stephen Ross invested $17 million into a sportsbook startup. So that's quite the conflict of interest there.
And I think, when it comes to this, I don't think that part of it's race-based.
No,
I think it's more of just trying to tank. But I would be interested if there is a white coach out there that's ever got offered the same deal, because we haven't heard about one.
Sure. Yes. Now, as far as, I think the Rooney Rule needs to change.
It does. It does. People just
because it really is what happened to Flores when he said happened. He went to New York and it was a sham interview because they needed to interview a minority, and that's wrong in itself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the solution is, but there's got to be a better way to implement the Rooney Rule than the way it's happening now, because you're opening yourself up for a lawsuit, which is what Flores is doing. And honestly, I think he has a real good shot to win it.
I will say it looks like he might have fibbed in the Denver case. Now, Elway and Ellis might have been impaired. I don't know, even though
it wouldn't surprise me with Elway.
No, even though it sounded like Elway got to Boston at 3 a.m. because they had just interviewed Mike Munchak and they went out to dinner and was out there late. But Joe Ellis had been in Boston the whole day before for something else. But it looks like the time frame and notes of the interviews that Denver has submitted isn't quite lining up with Flores saying they were an hour late. I don't know. I think we'll find out more details by that, but a few NFL reporters I really trust have said it looks like that part of the story's not adding up. But yeah, the rest of this is going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, which, the NFL, of course, came out and refuted all of it.
Quick.
And yeah, which Flores' lawyer, I thought, made a really good point. You guys investigated deflated footballs for months.
Right.
And you took 20 minutes to refute this without doing any sort of investigation. Now it looks like the NFL is going to look into it and do some investigating, which they should. You have to, and stuff like this, whether it happened or it didn't, you have to have due process.
Well, it's also interesting. Hugh Jackson just now coming out saying it's like, you've been interviewed multiple times. Yeah. And you've never said anything about this. You just have come out. Maybe he didn't have the guts to do it, but
then he backtracked and said it wasn't true. He like made the whole thing all about himself.
Yeah.
Which Hugh Jackson went 1 in 30.
Yeah, he's a loser when it comes to being a head coach. Yeah, he's just not good.
So he just needs to shut up. But as far as the head coaching vacancies that have been filled, the Saints just promoted Dennis Allen from defensive coordinator, which we thought that was probably
I'm happy for him. I think he deserves a second chance to be head coach in the NFL, because the Raiders, when they were in Oakland, didn't give him a fair shot.
Right. Minnesota Vikings hired LA Rams offensive coordinator Kevin O'Connell after it looked like Harbaugh was going to take it and then backed out at the last second.
And Harbaugh lost both of his coordinators. I personally think what happened, Harbaugh was so sure he was going to get the Viking job. He told his staff started looking for other jobs. Mm-hmm. They got opportunities. Mm-hmm. And then Harbaugh didn't get it. and makes it sound like, oh, I want to be at Michigan this whole time. This is going to impact their recruiting negatively eventually.
Yeah, I mean,
I
of
think.
course, you look at their defensive coordinator, and he went and took the defensive coordinator job in Baltimore.
Right.
So that one kind of made sense. But his offensive coordinator just left on his own to go to the University of Miami. So
Yeah.
it's yeah. So
I
it's an
think
interesting one.
your job would be more stable at Michigan than Miami. But
Absolutely. Now it sounds like the offensive coordinator was not a favorite of Jim Harbaugh, and he's okay to see him leave.
Well,
Yeah, but who knows? Jacksonville hired Doug Peterson. I think it's a real good hire.
I think it's a good hire. I think Jacksonville finally did something right. They kind of made a mess of their whole search, but at the end, I think they got one of the better guys out there.
Dolphins hired Mike McDaniel.
I think it's a good hire.
Coordinator for San Francisco. He's everything I've heard about him. He's innovative, creative, great communicator. You look at the quarterbacks he's worked with; they've had the best years of their career every single year.
Yep.
That he's coached. So I'm honestly surprised somebody wanted to go and get those paychecks signed by Stephen Ross at this point. But I'm glad they got their guy because Mike McDaniel had started creeping up that list for me especially after Daboll took the Giants job. So
here's an interesting thing to me. 3 offensive coordinators get hired to Denver, Miami, and Minnesota, in Nathaniel Hackett, Mike McDaniel, and Kevin O'Connell. None of them called the plays for their teams. The one OC that was a hot commodity that called his plays didn't get a job in Kellen Moore. So that tells me, that shows you interviews are important.
Yeah. And really, I mean, you look around the league and offensive coordinators that did call plays and then they're wanting to call plays as a head coach. I mean, look how bad it worked out with Matt Nagy in Chicago.
Yeah.
Adam Gase in Miami, for that matter. The head coach needs to be the CEO and needs to be over every single aspect of the team. So I think the fact that the guys aren't calling plays, it's not that big of a deal. I don't think Bieniemy calls plays in Kansas City, does he?
I don't think so. I think he has more of an input this year than he has had, but I don't think so. I mean, I know Nathaniel Hackett already said he's calling the plays in Denver.
Is he?
So, yeah.
Mike McDaniel, though, sounds like he put together every single one of San Francisco's game plans, and he was the run game coordinator. So, ask me in 3 years if it was a good hire. It's one of those things that I'm just whatever at this point.
I'm confident to say it's going to be better hire than the Texans hire.
Yes, the funniest hire of the coaching carousel. The Houston Texans promoted Lovie Smith. What are they doing?
I mean, he did a good job in Chicago for a while. Didn't do very well in Tampa Bay. Was awful at the University of Illinois.
Awful.
And now, I mean, he's a good defensive coordinator. Sometimes just leave him, let him be a defensive coordinator.
Yeah. This is one of those where I think guys were saying no to the Texans because they have the Deshaun Watson thing hanging over the franchise.
I think you're right.
Where they had to do this. And I think this is going to be a 1-year stopgap sort of deal until they can hire somebody new next year. Lovie was an utter disaster in Illinois. He was there for the paycheck, and he phoned it in, hired his son, gave him a 6-figure salary to coach their linebackers after having no experience.
He lost twice to Darrell Hazel. Hazel won 9 games.
Twice to Darrell Hazel. Got murdered one game against Darrell Hazel. The other game, I think, went to overtime.
Yes, yes, it did. Because remember Hazel iced Illinois' kicker 3 times with all 3 timeouts that he missed.
Yeah. That's one of the worst hires I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's just laughable. It's just laughable.
It's so funny, and I can't imagine it lasts more than a year because they're going to be the worst team in the NFL again next year.
Yep.
So, which I guess they weren't technically this year, but yeah.
Super Bowl pick real quick because we have not done the on this day yet.
Haven't done on this day. I actually have it pulled up. Super Bowl. Who you got, T-Dog?
I got the LA Rams. I'll go with a prediction of 27-17.
This will be the J-Man's Book It prediction of the week. I think the LA Rams defensive line is going to be way too much. Burrow's been difference maker. Yeah. Yep. I mean, who's going to – Aaron Donald's unblockable to begin with. Who's going to block him on that terrible Cincinnati Bengals offensive line?
And if you give him too much attention, Von Miller's on the other side. He's having a heck of a playoffs.
They have a couple other guys too, and they have one of the best corners in the NFL.
Yep.
I mean, this is a really fun Super Bowl because I don't really care who wins. Couldn't
I
care
don't.
less.
If I have to pull one way or the other, I'm rooting for the Rams because I want to see Von Miller get another ring because he's one of my favorite players of all time. But if the Bengals win, I'm happy for one of my college roommates and happy for a lot of Bengals fans who have been through crap.
Through a lot. Yeah. But yeah, give me the LA Rams. I just think I think Burrow, I think it'll be a really good game because I think Burrow's going to keep him in it. And of course they have Joe Mixon, but
and I know you'll like the halftime show. I know you will.
I was a big fan of old Eminem and Snoop Dogg back in the day. I haven't listened to him a whole lot recently, but back in high school, I was a huge Eminem fan.
You sure were.
J-Man's Book of Prediction of the Week brought to you by Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance Agent Travis Wottring for life, home, auto, business, renters, workers' comp, and farm insurance. Contact Travis at 219-869-4561. His email is travis.watching@infb.com. Hitting up on this day here real quick. On this day in 1949, Joe DiMaggio becomes first $100,000 a year baseball player for the New York Yankees.
Probably well deserved back then. He was a great one.
On this day in 1958, the LA Dodgers officially became the LA Dodgers.
58? Okay.
58. On this day in a lot of Olympics, a bunch of Pro Bowls, a bunch of All-Star games. On this day in 1991, Bob Knight was inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame.
National Basketball Hall of Fame.
They put NBA.
Yep, he had won his 3 national championships by that date.
On this day in 2010, who won the Super Bowl?
In 2010, that was the Saints over the Colts.
That was the Saints over the Colts. On this day in
Sean Payton
2016.
Onside kick. Yep. Have you watched the Home Team, that Netflix movie with Kevin James portraying Sean Payton? Don't waste your time. Awful.
I refuse.
Awful. I don't know how it was top 10 on Netflix. Awful. Don't do it.
It seems like a kid's movie. Is it like, would kids like it?
Probably. I just thought it was terrible.
Yeah.
I would give it out of a scale of 10. I might give it 3.
Maybe 3.
It was awful.
Who won the Super Bowl in 2016 on this day?
The Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
And haven't been back to the playoffs since. Longest streak for a Super Bowl champion.
Wow, that's interesting.
6 years.
And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers dominated Kansas City Chiefs on this day last season.
Isn't it crazy? Brady went through Breeze, Rodgers, and Mahomes.
That's pretty insane at 43 years old.
Yep.
Before we get to Birdie Bogey, we were going to talk about best athletes ever.
Yes.
So your the GOAT of the NFL.
Mr. Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. Yep, I agree. NBA.
Michael Jordan.
I would take Michael Jordan
even though I will say there are some guys who don't get enough consideration. I think Wilt Chamberlain needs to get more consideration than he does.
Dominant by far.
But Michael. I mean, LeBron, I can see some people making statistical case, but
our generation would say Jordan, and the generation before us would probably say Jordan, but the generation after us would probably say LeBron. It's just how it is. NHL.
Wayne Gretzky.
I mean, they call him the Great One for a reason. Then Major League Baseball. This is a tougher one.
This is a tough one. I'm actually going to go with a pitcher, and a lot of people probably don't agree with me. I think Nolan Ryan.
Pretty good.
He's just, I mean, when I think of dominant pitchers, I think of him right away. I don't know. There's so many different eras in baseball. This is hard.
I wouldn't pick anyone before 1970 as far as position players, because I saw some video yesterday of Mickey Mantle hitting a homer against like a 46-mile-an-hour fastball. You could argue, honestly, Mike Trout's putting together a case, but give me Barry Bonds. He should be in the Hall of Fame, regardless of performance-enhancing drugs. The greatest hitter ever. So,
No, that's a good one.
Yep. So give me that birdie bogey for me to not get correct.
If Aaron Rodgers wins MVP, which it looks like he's going to, he'll be the 5th guy in NFL history to win back-to-back MVPs. Can you name me the other 4? 4 for a birdie, 3 for a par.
Tom Brady do it?
No.
Peyton Manning?
Peyton Manning did it twice in 2003, 2004, and 2008, 2009.
Back-to-back MVPs. Marino do it?
No.
Didn't think so. I'm already getting a bogey.
Yep.
This is embarrassing. Who did it?
Jim Brown, 57-58. Montana, 89-90. Brett Favre, the only 3-time consecutive MVP winner, 95, 96, 97.
None of those players were even on my radar. That's how far off I was.
You got to love Birdie and Bogey, man.
I hate it. Every week.
I mean, we have not got a birdie yet between us both 2022. We are solid.
Holding out for pars.
Sounds like my golf game.
Yeah. Thanks for watching the Tana and J-Man Show live on the ISC Sports Network. Have a fantastic week, everybody. Have a good time at your Super Bowl parties. We will be back at it next Monday. Just me and good buddy Aaron Lynch. T-Dog is on much-needed vacation. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, I'll see everybody in 3 weeks.